David woke up to the soft light of the morning sun streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse. The city below was starting to stir, but his mind was already racing. Today was another busy day at the company, filled with meetings, calls, and deadlines, yet a small part of him was restless. Something felt off, although he couldn't put his finger on it. He stretched and ran his hand through his hair, trying to shake off the unease. His phone lay on the nightstand, buzzing lightly. He picked it up and noticed a new message from an unknown number. Curious, he opened it. "Are you ready for what's coming with the twins?" The message read. David frowned. Twins? What twins? He didn't recognize the number, and the message didn't give any more clues. He reread it several times, trying to make sense of it. He wondered if it was a mistake or some kind of prank. Still, a cold knot formed in his stomach. Shaking his head, he decided not to dwell on it. Today was too important to get distracted. He had a meeting with the board and a luncheon with investors. The wedding planning would follow in the evening, and everything had to run smoothly. His life, meticulously structured for years, didn't allow room for confusion. After a quick shower, David dressed in a tailored suit, his mind still partly occupied by the mysterious message. He tried to push it aside as he drove to the office, the city passing by in a blur. He told himself it was nothing, just a wrong number, and he focused on the day ahead. At the office, everything seemed normal. The staff greeted him with the usual warmth, unaware of his internal tension. He sat in his corner office, the skyline visible behind him, and started reviewing documents. Yet the text lingered in his thoughts. The word twins repeated in his mind, and for the first time in years he felt a twinge of anxiety. Olivia, his fiancée, arrived at the office later in the morning. She was radiant, her energy filling the room. She kissed him lightly on the cheek, and for a moment David's worries melted away. Everything seemed perfect. He reminded himself how much he loved her and how carefully they had built their life together. "Morning," she said, glancing at his face. "You look distracted." "Just a busy day," he replied, forcing a smile. But he couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to ask about the text. He debated whether to bring it up. "Are you sure everything is okay?" Olivia asked, noticing his hesitation. "I'm fine," he assured her, not wanting to ruin her mood. He didn't want her to worry over something that might be nothing. Yet in the back of his mind he knew he couldn't ignore it forever. The day went on with back-to-back meetings, presentations, and calls. David threw himself into his work, trying to focus entirely on the tasks at hand. He negotiated deals, made critical decisions, and kept his professional demeanor. Still, each time his phone buzzed, he felt a jolt of anxiety. Every message made him glance at it, hoping it wasn't another cryptic note about the twins. By late afternoon, he finally had a moment of quiet. He stepped into his private lounge, away from the bustle of the office, and reviewed the text again. Something about it didn't sit right. He decided he needed to confront the issue, but carefully. He didn't want to overreact without understanding what it meant. When Olivia called to tell him she was heading to the floral shop to finalize some details for the wedding, David took a deep breath. He decided he would mention the message casually, hoping it was truly nothing. He didn't want to create tension unnecessarily. Later that evening, as they walked together through the boutique surrounded by flowers of every color, he finally spoke up. "I got a strange text today," he said, trying to keep his tone light. "It mentioned something about twins. Do you know anything about that?" Olivia laughed, a soft musical sound. "Twins? No, not at all. Maybe it was a wrong number." She squeezed his hand reassuringly. "You've been working too hard. Don't let it worry you." David nodded, but the uneasy feeling remained. He tried to accept her explanation, but his mind was restless. He couldn't help imagining scenarios where there might be something she wasn't telling him. He loved Olivia deeply, and the thought of secrets between them was unsettling. The evening passed with wedding preparations, tasting the cake, checking invitations, and finalizing the seating arrangements. Friends and family were excited, full of chatter and laughter. Everyone saw the perfect couple, perfectly planning the perfect wedding. David played his part, smiled, and engaged in conversations. But inside, a part of him was on edge, waiting for something he couldn't define. That night, back in their apartment, David lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Olivia slept beside him, peaceful and unaware of his growing anxiety. He thought about the text again, analyzing every word. "Are you ready for what's coming with the twins?" It sounded like a warning, yet vague enough to be meaningless. But the more he thought about it, the more he felt a sense of impending change, something that could disrupt the life he had carefully built. The next morning, David couldn't shake the feeling that he needed answers. The text had planted a seed of doubt, and he couldn't simply ignore it. He checked his phone repeatedly, hoping for more information, but nothing arrived. He wondered if he should confront Olivia again, more directly this time. He didn't want to accuse her or cause unnecessary stress, but he also knew that ignoring his instincts could be a mistake. As he got ready for work, he replayed the previous day's moments in his mind. Olivia had seemed completely normal, cheerful, and transparent. Yet he couldn't help noticing subtle details he had overlooked before. Brief pauses in her speech, small hesitations, moments where she seemed lost in thought. Could there be something she hadn't told him? By mid-morning, David felt compelled to investigate further. He wasn't sure what he was looking for, but he knew he had to understand. The idea of secrets between them was unbearable. He couldn't imagine marrying Olivia if there were hidden truths that could shake the foundation of their relationship. The rest of the day passed in a blur of business meetings, but David's mind was partly elsewhere. He reviewed contracts, made decisions, and delegated tasks, yet every time his phone vibrated, he felt a spike of anxiety. He longed for clarity, for a simple explanation that would make the message meaningless. When he returned home that evening, Olivia was waiting with a smile, carrying a bouquet of fresh flowers. She hugged him tightly and whispered, "Long day?" "Yes, but it's good to be home," he replied, trying to sound normal. They sat down together, sipping wine, talking about minor wedding details and weekend plans. He wanted to enjoy the moment, to focus on the life they were building together. Yet the thought of the text lingered, shadowing every conversation. As they prepared for bed, David finally decided to trust Olivia and let the matter rest for now. He needed peace, even if temporary. Tomorrow, he thought he would seek clarity, but tonight he would try to sleep, even if uneasily. He closed his eyes, but the message replayed in his mind. The word twins seemed to echo in the silence of the room. David realized that something as small as a mistaken text could plant seeds of doubt, shaking even the most stable life. He didn't know what lay ahead, but he sensed that his perfect world might be about to change in ways he could never have imagined. The next morning, David woke up feeling restless. Sleep had not eased the knot in his stomach that had formed after the mysterious text. He tried to start his day normally, but every small detail seemed to remind him of the previous night. He couldn't stop thinking about the message and the word twins. He felt the need to dig deeper, even if it meant disturbing the calm routine of his life. He decided to call Olivia while she was on her way to the office. She picked up after a couple of rings, her voice cheerful and light. "Morning, love. Did you sleep well?" David hesitated for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "I did, but I keep thinking about that text I got yesterday. The one about the twins. Do you know anything about it?" Olivia paused briefly, a hint of confusion crossing her voice. "Twins? No, I haven't received anything like that. Maybe it was a wrong number or a prank. Don't let it worry you." David nodded, though he wasn't entirely convinced. He wanted to trust her, but his instincts were nagging him. Something about the timing of the text just before the wedding felt strange. He thanked her and ended the call, but the feeling of unease didn't leave. At the office, David tried to immerse himself in work. The day was filled with meetings, conference calls, and urgent decisions. Yet he found his mind wandering back to the text. He wondered if it was possible that Olivia had a secret she had kept hidden. He shook his head, trying to dismiss the thought, but it persisted. During lunch, his assistant brought in a folder with reports for the next board meeting. David barely glanced at it, his attention divided. He noticed small details in Olivia's messages from the previous week that he had not paid much attention to before. Moments when she seemed unusually distant or distracted. He wondered if they were connected, if she had been hiding something from him all along. David spent the afternoon in a fog, moving mechanically from one task to another. He attended a meeting with investors, smiled at their questions and nodded at their comments, but the shadow of doubt loomed over him. Every word from his phone, every notification, sent his mind spiraling back to the unknown number and its message. After the meeting, he decided to take a short walk outside to clear his mind. The city was buzzing with life, but David felt detached from it, He watched people walking by, couples holding hands, friends laughing together, and it made him think about trust and honesty. Could someone he loved truly hide something so significant from him? The thought made his chest tighten. Returning to the office, David found a private moment and checked his phone again. Still no new messages. The silence was both a relief and a torment. He couldn't tell if this meant the message was meaningless or if it was a warning of something to come. He realized he had to confront the issue more directly but carefully. He didn't want to accuse Olivia unfairly, yet he couldn't ignore his growing concern. Later that evening, David met Olivia at a small cafe near their apartment. They sat outside, the city lights creating a soft glow around them. He decided it was time to bring up the text again, this time with more urgency. "Olivia, I need to ask you something seriously," he began, trying to keep his tone calm. "That message I got yesterday, it mentioned twins. I need you to be completely honest with me. Is there something I don't know?" Olivia looked surprised, her eyes searching his. "Twins, David, no. I swear, there's nothing like that. Why would I hide something from you?" Her voice was sincere, but David noticed the slightest hesitation, the smallest pause before she spoke. It was barely noticeable, but enough to make him wonder. He nodded slowly. "I want to believe you, I really do. But this has me worried. I can't ignore the possibility that there's something important you haven't told me." Olivia reached across the table and took his hand. "David, I've never hidden anything from you. I love you and I want this wedding as much as you do. Maybe it's really just a wrong number. Can we not let this ruin today?" David tried to calm his racing thoughts. He wanted to trust her, to let the day pass without conflict, but a small part of him knew he couldn't rest until he had clarity. He agreed to drop the topic for now, but the tension lingered beneath the surface. As they returned home, David thought about the patterns in Olivia's behavior that he had noticed. She had moments of distraction, times when she seemed lost in thought or quickly changed the subject when certain topics came up. He tried to tell himself it was normal, that everyone had moments like that. But his instincts told him otherwise. The next day at work, David found himself distracted again. His mind was preoccupied with the mysterious text and Olivia's responses. He noticed subtle details in the office, overheard conversations, and even small gestures from colleagues that he normally wouldn't pay attention to. His mind was scanning for connections, trying to find meaning where there might be none. During a break, David decided to reach out to a trusted friend who had always offered perspective on personal matters. He explained the situation vaguely, careful not to mention Olivia directly, and asked if he was overreacting. His friend advised caution, suggesting that it might indeed be a wrong number, but also reminded David to trust his instincts. The conversation left him with more questions than answers, reinforcing the feeling that something significant was at play. By late afternoon, David received another message from the same unknown number. His heart raced as he opened it. This one was shorter but more urgent. "You need to know before it's too late." David felt a wave of panic mixed with determination. He knew he couldn't wait any longer. He needed to uncover the truth. The message had confirmed that something was happening, and it wasn't just a random mistake. He decided to begin discreetly investigating, starting with small inquiries to avoid alarming Olivia. Over the next few days, David's life became a careful balance between maintaining his professional duties and secretly gathering information. He paid close attention to details in Olivia's life, subtle hints from her friends, and any clue that might explain the mysterious messages. The tension was exhausting, but he felt driven by a need to understand before committing fully to the wedding. During this period, Olivia remained her usual charming and loving self, unaware of David's growing anxiety. She continued planning the wedding, arranging flowers, tasting cake, and checking invitations. Her enthusiasm for their future together contrasted sharply with David's inner turmoil. Every happy gesture she made reminded him of what he could lose if the truth turned out to be different from what he had imagined. One evening, as they sat together reviewing the final guest list, David decided to confront her again, gently but firmly. He chose his words carefully, aiming to express concern without accusation. "Olivia, I need to be honest with you. I received a text and it mentioned twins. I don't know what it means, but I feel I can't ignore it. I need you to tell me everything if there's something I don't know. Please, I need honesty." Olivia looked at him, her expression a mixture of surprise and concern. She hesitated, and David felt the smallest flicker of doubt confirm his suspicions. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken thoughts. Finally she spoke, her voice calm but careful. "David, I've never lied to you, and there's nothing like that. I promise. Whatever that message said, it has nothing to do with me. Please trust me." David nodded slowly, forcing himself to believe her, yet a part of him remained wary. He realized that trust in a relationship was delicate, and sometimes even the smallest seed of doubt could grow into something consuming. He wanted to enjoy the wedding planning, to embrace the joy of their engagement, but he couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something was about to change everything. David couldn't sleep that night. The events of the past days weighed heavily on him, and the mysterious texts had grown from a minor curiosity into a source of constant anxiety. He felt trapped between his love for Olivia and the nagging suspicion that something was being hidden from him. He knew that if he wanted to move forward with the wedding, he needed answers. The next morning, David made a decision. He would take action to uncover the truth, but carefully. He couldn't simply accuse Olivia without evidence. He needed to know what was really going on. He started by reviewing the texts again, analyzing every word, every nuance, looking for clues. Each reading seemed to make the situation both clearer and more confusing at the same time. He decided to hire a private investigator. It was a careful choice, someone who could look into matters discreetly without raising suspicion. David knew it was a delicate situation, but he also knew he couldn't ignore it. He contacted a trusted investigator, explaining that he needed information about a personal matter, without revealing too much. He wanted to find out if there was any truth to the hints about twins or if it was all just a cruel misunderstanding. While waiting for initial results, David's daily life felt strained. He attended meetings, signed contracts, and managed his company with his usual efficiency, but his thoughts constantly drifted to Olivia and the possible secrets she might be hiding. He noticed small details in her behavior that he had previously dismissed, the way she sometimes hesitated before answering questions, the subtle shifts in her expression when certain topics came up. He wondered if these were clues, signs that there was something she hadn't told him. Olivia continued her preparations for the wedding, completely unaware of David's growing unease. She was enthusiastic, excited, and busy with plans for flowers, decorations, and catering. She seemed happy and confident, which only made David's anxiety worse. He couldn't reconcile her carefree demeanor with the mysterious messages he had received. A few days later, the private investigator contacted David. The findings were subtle at first, but slowly revealed a hidden layer of Olivia's past. David learned that Olivia had indeed been in a serious relationship years ago, and that she had twins from that relationship. This information had never been shared with him. David's heart sank as the reality hit him. The secret had been right under his nose, and he had no idea until now. David struggled with a storm of emotions. He felt betrayed and hurt, but also confused about how to approach Olivia. He knew she had reasons for keeping the information private, perhaps fear of judgment, perhaps fear of losing him. Yet the omission felt monumental, a secret that could not be overlooked when he was about to commit his life to her. He spent hours walking through the city, trying to process the revelation. The bright lights, the bustling streets, and the busy lives around him seemed distant and unimportant. All that mattered was this new knowledge and the impact it would have on his future. He wondered if he could continue with the wedding knowing this truth, or if the foundation of their relationship had been shaken beyond repair. When David returned home, he decided he had to confront Olivia. He needed her side of the story, her explanation, and her honesty. That evening, they sat down together, the room filled with a tense silence. David's hands trembled slightly as he spoke. "Olivia, I know about the twins," he said quietly. "I know you've never told me about them. I need you to explain everything, and I need you to be completely honest." Olivia's eyes widened, and for a moment she seemed unable to find words. Her usual calm and composed demeanor faltered, replaced by surprise and then a mixture of guilt and fear. She took a deep breath, gathering herself before speaking. "David, I never wanted to hide this from you out of deceit. I was afraid. I loved you, and I feared that if I told you about the TWs, it might change everything between us. I wanted to protect our relationship and our happiness. I never imagined it would come out this way." she said, her voice trembling. David listened, a mixture of relief and sadness washing over him. He understood her fear, but he also felt the sting of betrayal. The revelation was life-changing, and it demanded careful thought. He couldn't simply ignore it and proceed as if nothing had happened. Trust once broken required time and effort to rebuild. They spent hours talking that night. Olivia shared every detail about her past, her reasons for keeping the information private, and her deep love for David. David shared his feelings of hurt, confusion, and betrayal. It was an emotionally exhausting conversation, yet it was necessary. Both realized that their future together depended on honesty and the willingness to confront difficult truths. In the days that followed, David reflected on what he had learned. He recognized that the twins were part of Olivia's past, not a threat to their love, but the secrecy had been a serious issue. He considered the impact on their relationship and the importance of transparency going forward. He realized that moving forward with the wedding required a foundation built on truth, not assumptions. The revelation also forced David to examine his own feelings. He loved Olivia deeply, but he had to acknowledge the pain caused by the hidden truth. He questioned whether he could fully forgive, whether he could trust completely again, and whether their relationship could withstand the weight of the secret. As David walked through the city one evening, he reflected on life, love, and trust. He realized that relationships were complex, filled with challenges and hidden layers. The experience taught him that honesty was not just a moral choice, but a necessity for genuine connection. Secrets, even when kept for good reasons, could create rifts that were difficult to bridge. David knew that the coming days would be critical. He had to decide whether to proceed with the wedding, to give their love another chance, or to take a step back and reevaluate his priorities. The decision weighed heavily on him, but he also understood that it was his responsibility to act with clarity and integrity. Despite the emotional turmoil, David felt a sense of clarity emerging. He had the truth now, and while it was painful, it was also empowering. He could no longer be manipulated by uncertainty or vague messages. The reality was clear, and he could face it head-on. He resolved to approach Olivia with a measured and honest heart, ready to discuss their future openly. The path ahead was uncertain, but at least it was real. The hidden truths had surfaced, and now they had a chance to rebuild, to confront the past, and to make decisions based on honesty rather than assumption. As he prepared for the evening, David felt a mix of emotions: love, hurt, confusion, and hope. The revelation about the twins had changed everything, but it had also created an opportunity for growth, understanding, and renewed trust. He realized that life was unpredictable, and sometimes the most difficult truths led to the most profound lessons. He knew that the coming days would test both him and Olivia, challenging their commitment and resilience. But he also recognized that the strength of their relationship depended not on perfection, but on their ability to face reality together. The truth about the twins had shaken their world, but it had also opened the door to honesty, communication, and a deeper understanding of love. David spent the next morning in deep thought. The revelation about Olivia's twins had changed everything in his life, and he knew he had to make a decision soon. He couldn't move forward blindly, nor could he continue planning a wedding without addressing the hurt and mistrust that had developed. Every moment, every conversation with Olivia seemed to carry the weight of the secret. He decided to take a walk through the park to clear his mind. The crisp morning air helped him focus, and the steady rhythm of his steps gave him a sense of control that he had lost in the emotional whirlwind. He reflected on their relationship, remembering the love, joy, and shared dreams. He reminded himself that the past could not be changed, but the future was still in their hands. When he returned home, Olivia was in the kitchen, arranging flowers and humming softly. The normalcy of the scene contrasted sharply with David's internal turmoil. He realized he had to be honest with her about his feelings, and that meant facing the difficult conversation head-on. "Olivia," he began, his voice steady but serious. "We need to talk about the wedding and what just happened. I love you, and I've always wanted to be with you, but this changes things. I can't go forward without understanding everything and feeling that we can rebuild trust completely." Olivia paused, placing the flowers down. She looked at him with a mixture of concern and apprehension. "I understand, David. I never meant to hurt you, and I see now how keeping this from you caused pain. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. I just want you to know that my love for you is real." David nodded slowly. He appreciated her honesty, but he also knew that rebuilding trust was not an overnight process. He had to consider his own feelings, the potential impact on their families, and the social implications of canceling the wedding at this late stage. Over the next few days, David spoke with close friends and confidants, seeking guidance and perspective. Their advice varied, but a common theme emerged. He needed to listen to his instincts and consider what would be best for his emotional well-being. He realized that moving forward without full clarity could lead to long-term regret and heartbreak. Meanwhile, Olivia continued preparing for the wedding, unaware of the depth of David's internal conflict. She planned flowers, sent invitations, and coordinated with the caterers, her mind filled with excitement. Every cheerful gesture reminded David of what he was about to lose, but it also reinforced the importance of making the right decision. One afternoon, David sat alone in his office, reflecting on his relationship with Olivia. He thought about all the moments they had shared, the laughter, the support, and the plans for their future. He realized that love alone was not enough if trust was compromised. He had to decide whether forgiveness was possible, whether he could accept her past and move forward without lingering doubt. That evening, he called Olivia to discuss the wedding. Her voice was warm and excited, and David felt a pang of guilt as he prepared to deliver the difficult news. He knew this conversation would be painful, but it was necessary. "Olivia," he began carefully, "I've thought long and hard about everything. I love you deeply, but I can't ignore the fact that a major part of your past was kept from me. I feel betrayed, and I can't move forward with the wedding right now. We need to take a step back." There was a long silence on the other end. Olivia's voice trembled slightly as she responded, "David, I understand. I knew this would be difficult, but I never wanted to hurt you. If this is what you need, I will accept it. I love you, and I hope that someday we can find a way back to each other." The conversation left David feeling a mixture of relief and sorrow. He had made the decision that his heart demanded, but the emotional weight of canceling the wedding was immense. He knew friends, family, and colleagues would have opinions, and the social pressure would be significant. Yet he also knew that acting with integrity was more important than appearances. Over the next few days, David took steps to inform those closest to them about the situation. He met with his family first, explaining the reasons behind his decision. Their reactions varied. Some were sympathetic, while others expressed surprise or concern. He then spoke with Olivia's family, who were initially shocked but appreciated his honesty and the careful manner in which he handled the situation. As news of the canceled wedding spread, David felt the weight of public scrutiny. Colleagues, friends, and acquaintances offered support, but he also sensed gossip and judgment. He realized that his life as a public figure and CEO added an additional layer of complexity to personal decisions. Yet he remained steadfast, knowing that his choice was guided by truth and emotional honesty. David spent the following weeks focusing on himself. He took time to process his emotions, reflect on his values, and understand the lessons from the experience. He engaged in activities that brought him peace, spent time with friends who provided support, and allowed himself to grieve the loss of a future he had envisioned. Olivia also navigated her own emotions. She faced feelings of shame, regret, and heartbreak. She spent time with her children, reflecting on the consequences of her past decisions and the impact they had on her relationship with David. She realized that honesty, while difficult, was essential for building a sustainable and authentic life moving forward. Through this process, both David and Olivia began to heal. They learned the importance of communication, trust, and transparency in relationships. While their romantic relationship could not continue in the way they had planned, they found ways to respect and understand each other's perspectives, creating space for personal growth and self-discovery. David recognized that while the canceled wedding was painful, it was also an opportunity. He had gained clarity about his needs, values, and the type of relationship he wanted in the future. He understood that love required more than emotion. It required honesty, integrity, and mutual respect. As time passed, David began to rebuild his life with a renewed focus on personal fulfillment. He embraced new challenges at work, strengthened friendships, and explored activities that brought him joy and balance. He understood that the experience with Olivia, though difficult, had taught him invaluable lessons about love, trust, and the importance of facing uncomfortable truths. Olivia, too, found a path forward. She strengthened her bond with her children, built a supportive network of friends, and reflected on how to live authentically. She learned that love alone was not enough if honesty was compromised, and she committed to being more open in future relationships. In the end, both David and Olivia emerged stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. The canceled wedding marked a turning point in their lives, a moment that reshaped their understanding of love, trust, and personal integrity. They realized that while life could be unpredictable and painful, the lessons learned from honesty and reflection could guide them toward healthier, more fulfilling futures. Though the story did not end with the fairy tale wedding they had imagined, it concluded with a deeper understanding of themselves and what it truly meant to love, forgive, and move forward with clarity and purpose. The experience, though difficult, became a foundation for growth and self-discovery, a testament to the resilience of the human heart and the importance of truth in all relationships. David woke up one morning feeling lighter than he had in weeks. The past months had been filled with emotional turmoil, confusion, and difficult decisions. But now he felt a sense of clarity and calm he had not experienced since before the mysterious text had arrived. The pain of canceling the wedding still lingered, but it was accompanied by a deeper understanding of himself and his values. He spent the morning walking through the city streets, observing life moving around him. Couples strolled hand in hand, friends laughed together in cafes, and children played in the parks. The world felt alive and vibrant, and David felt connected to it in a way he hadn't before. He realized that while life could be unpredictable and challenging, it also offered moments of beauty, growth, and unexpected opportunities. David had taken time to reflect on the lessons he had learned. He understood now that love alone was not enough to sustain a relationship. Trust, honesty, and transparency were equally important. He also recognized that forgiveness and patience were essential when navigating difficult situations. The experience with Olivia had been painful, but it had also been transformative. Olivia, too, had begun to find her own path forward. She focused on her children, spending quality time with them and nurturing their well-being. She also reflected on her own actions, understanding the importance of openness and honesty in future relationships. The revelation about her past had been difficult for David to hear, but it had also been a catalyst for growth for both of them. Over the following weeks, David reconnected with friends and family, finding support and guidance as he rebuilt his emotional stability. He engaged in activities that brought him joy, from fitness routines to exploring creative hobbies he had once set aside. These moments of personal fulfillment helped him regain confidence and a sense of control over his life. One evening, David sat in a quiet cafe, reflecting on the journey he had undergone. He thought about the messages, the investigation, the confrontation with Olivia, and the decision to cancel the wedding. Each step had been difficult, but each had also provided insight into the complexities of love and relationships. He realized that personal growth often required facing uncomfortable truths and making difficult choices. David began to understand that the experience had not been a failure, but a lesson. He had learned to trust his instincts, to value honesty, and to recognize the importance of emotional integrity. These lessons would guide him in future relationships, helping him build connections that were authentic, resilient, and based on mutual respect. As he continued to reflect, David felt a sense of hope for the future. He understood that while the chapter with Olivia had closed in a certain way, life was full of new opportunities and possibilities. He was open to love again, but with a deeper understanding of what it meant to truly connect with another person. He knew that future relationships would require transparency, communication, and the courage to face challenges together. David also recognized the importance of self-care and personal boundaries. He understood that protecting his emotional well-being was essential, and that compromise did not mean sacrificing one's own values or sense of self. The experience with Olivia had taught him the value of balance in relationships, and he was determined to carry that lesson forward. In the weeks that followed, David found joy in simple pleasures. He spent time in nature, enjoying quiet moments by the river and taking long walks through the city parks. He connected with friends, sharing stories, laughter, and support. Each day he felt more grounded, more at peace with himself and the world around him. David reflected on the idea that life was unpredictable and that even the most carefully planned paths could be disrupted. Yet he also realized that challenges were opportunities for growth and self-discovery. The experience with Olivia had been a turning point, teaching him resilience, patience, and the importance of facing reality with courage. He also considered Olivia's journey. While their romantic relationship had ended, he hoped she would find peace, happiness, and fulfillment. He understood that love could take many forms and that relationships could evolve in ways that were not always expected. Respect, compassion, and understanding remained essential, even when paths diverged. One afternoon, David sat in a quiet park, watching children play and couples walk by. He felt a sense of contentment, a quiet joy in being present and aware of the moment. The emotional weight that had once consumed him had lifted, replaced by a sense of clarity and purpose. He knew that life would continue to present challenges, but he also knew that he was stronger, wiser, and more prepared to face them. David realized that the most important lessons came from experience and reflection. The journey with Olivia had been painful, but it had also been enlightening. He understood that personal growth often required facing difficult truths and making choices that were aligned with one's values and emotional needs. In the weeks that followed, David began to explore new opportunities both professionally and personally. He took on new projects at work, pursued hobbies he had neglected, and spent time building meaningful connections with friends and acquaintances. Each day brought new experiences and insights, helping him grow as a person and regain confidence in his abilities and judgment. David also reflected on the importance of forgiveness, not just toward others, but toward oneself. He recognized that he had acted with integrity, honesty, and thoughtfulness throughout the situation, and he allowed himself to let go of guilt and self-blame. This sense of self-compassion was essential for moving forward and embracing the future with optimism and confidence. As time passed, David felt a renewed sense of hope and possibility. He understood that life was a series of unexpected events, and that each challenge was an opportunity to learn, grow, and strengthen one's character. The experience with Olivia, though painful, had provided invaluable lessons that would guide him in future relationships and personal decisions. David realized that love was not just about happiness and companionship, but about honesty, trust, and mutual respect. He knew that future relationships would require openness, communication, and the courage to face difficulties together. He felt prepared to embrace these principles, knowing that they would create a strong foundation for genuine connection. In the end, David's journey was one of self-discovery, resilience, and emotional growth. The canceled wedding marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, one filled with understanding, self-awareness, and hope. He had learned the importance of facing difficult truths, valuing honesty, and building relationships based on integrity and trust. Though life had been unpredictable and challenging, David emerged stronger, wiser, and more aware of what truly mattered. He knew that the lessons he had learned would guide him in the future, helping him create meaningful connections, embrace love authentically, and navigate life with courage, clarity, and emotional resilience.